All right, we are live.
There you
Awesome
go.
work. Hello and welcome to Relevate TV. My name is Avon, and today we've got Kane. How you doing?
Hey, mate, really, really well. All things considered, despite the cold, I was
Yeah.
enjoying the music.
Sorry, I figured it was going to be a little bit hard to hear, but yeah. So today we're just going to go through an announcement in the news, which is pretty crazy, and just sort of kick the can around and really understand and unpack the what I think is a bit of an insane announcement. So I'm going to whack it on the bottom here. So if you can read that, it says that Samsung has just announced a 64-hour work week, which is nuts. I have to say, when I first read that, I misread it. I was like, I don't know why. I skimmed the article, and in my mind, it looked like, oh, they're doing a 4-hour work week. But yeah, 64 hours. Like, what the hell? That's a lot. That's
Yeah,
more than 40
yeah,
hours.
it is. It's crazy. Um, and it was so crazy that it took me rereading the article and then sending it back across to you to go, oh wow, this isn't a reduction, this is an increase, significant increase.
Yeah. And I think that, like today we sort of want to talk about what does it mean, because there's some big implications around, Korean culture. The fact that, a lot of people are walking around with one of these phones in their pockets, and there's such a huge company. But what did you say earlier? There was $8 billion in losses.
11, it was 11, yeah.
11 billion. I don't know why. I'm reading the wrong things lately. It's ridiculous. But 64-hour work week is insane. Like, if we think, I think I worked it out. If you're doing 8 hours a day, that is an 8-day week. So you're actually doing like 9 hours a day to get to 64 hours. So like, is it that you're going to do like 12 hours on some days, and then you're going to have like a half day off, or are you just literally
Yeah.
just not ever going to
It,
sleep?
well, the article hasn't detailed it exactly, but what it did say is they are moving to 6 day weeks, so from 5 to 6. Whereas certainly in our Western culture, there is a push for 4 day weeks as opposed to five. Not the case at Samsung. They're looking at 6 day weeks, so we know that much. We also know that the Korean labor laws actually prohibit a 64-hour work week in most industries. So they're capped at 52 hours a week. As we spoke about before, everyone they can do 40 regular hours and then 12 possible overtime, so 52 hours. Now, one of the exceptions to the rule is R&D related activities that strengthen their national competitiveness. So
But
that's one of the laws they're invoking.
but Samsung is such a huge company. Like, they're the second biggest phone manufacturer, and they've got, I've had their phones for the last few years, and I mean, you've got Apple. They charge a fortune for their devices, and then yet they're still going to Foxconn in China, where they went and had basically installed nets on the building so that people stop jumping off them because they're being so overworked. Um, this is like, I mean, I know we're two major brands, but now you've got Huawei, you've got I think it's OPEC or O something. There's about 50 other major brands, and now that global competitiveness is increasing in the phone market, I guess these big companies with thin-ish margins, but I still looking at 2 grand for a phone. Um, these things are like rocket ships in your pocket. They're like 10,000 times more than what you needed to go to the moon way back in the day.
Yeah.
So, I mean, obviously, yeah, I get it. Chips and manufacturing and all of that stuff is accelerating so fast that you need R&D to move fast on that. But then you've got other countries deploying things like the AI to try and build the next thing or come up with the best formula for X. So why are they not doing that?
Yeah, look, it's a really good question. I don't know they're in the right frame of mind to do that on the back of an $11 billion loss, but it begs the question, why are they $11 billion loss to begin with? Like you said before, it's Samsung. We're in a Samsung Apple culture. Um,
Mm.
not entirely, but I think they've been the two biggest players for a long time. Samsung have always had the better camera, always had the better recording.
Mm.
I feel that Apple's well, this might be a controversial topic. For me, Apple has always integrated so well. Mac, Apple Watch, AirDrop, send videos that are 6 minutes in length in 10 seconds. Uh, so, to your point earlier, I certainly see the pros and cons in both, but why they're not investing in AI chip development on the $11 billion losses, man?
Well, just from a leadership perspective, like they've got people on strike. Uh, what was the,
Go for it.
oh, where did
God
that come
bless
from?
you. Nice one.
Sorry about that. Just
Try this
wiped the
one next
camera.
time everyone with a sneeze. My wife reckons that you say pineapple, and if you say pineapple, it stops the sneeze.
Pineapple. All right. Okay. Well, you know
Doesn't
how
work for
like
me.
drinking water works for when you've got a hiccup coming or something like
Hiccup.
that. Doing it on stand on your head and do something weird like that. I don't know. But yeah, like I think they got like 30 or 40,000 employees globally, and something like 10,000 of them are on strike.
That's
So
right.
if you're losing $11 billion in your company, and you go work more, and then you're also getting a third or a quarter of your workforce on strike, where's the cost to benefit ratio on that? I would have thought that maybe I don't know. It's such a hard one. And from a leadership perspective, what are your thoughts around what maybe the company should have done if you're at the helm? What would you do?
Well, I think I forget the name of the gentleman that wrote the article that piqued our interest in the first place, but as we know, the article was published on the 8th of June, which is 3 days ago. Um, the strike you're referring to is actually the first strike in the company's history on Friday. Uh,
Hmm.
and as much as, like you said, as much as 22% of the workplace showed up to strike. One thing that I think it's important to note is very, very rarely do you find a catch-all a good fix. So what I mean by that is implementing a 6-day work week. Look, man, maybe it's a solution. He's got $11 billion of losses in his space. So, I mean, it reminds me of Alan Mullally coming across from Boeing to save Ford. It was almost that amount.
Hmm.
I don't think it's necessary to pull everyone in the R&D department to the degree that they are. The article doesn't detail back into a
Hmm.
6-day work week, 64-hour a week contracts. I just don't think that's where the rubber meets the road because you're going to get. I think that's going to foster a certain amount of resent,
Hmm.
which, as we know, deteriorates work ethic and workplace culture. So, look, man, looking in from what we know, I think that was not the right decision. Throwing the ball out and saying we're going to catch everybody. Everybody's come back to the work to the office, pardon me, for 6 days. I would have targeted key stakeholders in the division. I would have
But
brought them in and out of an echo chamber. I would have said, all right, how do you think that we're going to cut this? This
hmm.
is what we're looking at. We don't want it to repeat. We probably can't afford it to repeat. Maybe they can weather another storm like that, but they definitely can't weather too many. We need to fix something.
Hmm.
I'm thinking we do a 64-hour work week. Why am I wrong?
But like you're doing, like, let's think about the work, right? So you're making chips. This is R&D. You're coming up with new stuff. You're imagining new things. You're even in your own brain, you're connecting new neural pathways. And in order to do that, you need to have enough sleep, enough rest, enough, whatever. Otherwise, it's not like the old days of people at the machine shop that, if I make another, 50 bolts on the machine, then, that's where the money comes from, because that's pretty, I won't say mindless, but you don't need as much free cognitive workflow. You don't need to invest a lot of time in making sure that you're fresh and ready for the next day. You can literally rock up, and you might get an extra 4 or 5 units out that day. You'll go home tired. You'll rock up the next day, and you're going to be able to do it again. And this kind of means that they're going to be burnt out. They're not going to be at their peak, like decision making, imagination, creativity, design, problem solving. I don't know if you've ever tried to do maths problems when you're super, super tired. but that's pretty much what you're doing in the microchip space. You're not doing like manual labor. You're doing high mental load.
Mm.
So
Yeah, that's a really
particularly
good
in
point. I wonder how you cut that next day, the sixth day. It's a good point that you raised. It's not just mindless forging forward. In fact,
because mm,
it's quite the contrary. If it's been mindless forging forward up until now, it's not working.
well, maybe it's short term pain or short term gain, long term pain. Because yeah, we get lots of people in there, and then all of a sudden you'll burn out your top workers. They're going to not want to stick around. They're probably going to try and get jobs elsewhere. And let's not forget, yes, the Korean culture has always been, good work ethic. It's all about respect and values and that sort of stuff. And sometimes, particularly in Asian cultures, and particularly in places like Japan, where it's honorable to be at work, and it's actually honorable to have a nap in the middle of the day because you're working hard, and to not actually go home. So they're getting there at like 8 or 9 in the morning and then staying till like 10 or 11 o'clock at night. Are they super effective? Maybe not. We talk about what work-life balance. I don't think anybody's got the right formula. Like Australians complain about, I think you're allowed to do 42 hours as reasonable overtime is the 2 hours in the 40-hour work week. But 64, like I said, when I first read it, I just glanced over it, and I don't know why, but my brain thought that's a 4-day work week. And then because I didn't do the maths, I just glanced over and went, oh, Samsung's doing the latest trend in HR. But reality was that it's completely the opposite.
Yeah,
So I,
it
I
is
I'm
completely the
wondering,
opposite.
yeah. So and now we're turning our workforce away, and they're getting super frustrated and going on strike. So are they really just going to push it into the ground? Because Disney did the same thing. Like Disney had people at the gates on strike that weren't doing their paintings. This is back in the like 60s, when it was still black and white and hand drawing all of the artworks.
Well, mate, the history told us there's been an uproar. Whenever the work week has increased,
Hmm.
there's been an uproar as a consequence. I think there's pretty reasonable labour laws within Australia. Like you said before, reasonable overtime is 42 hours. Most people are on a 38-hour contract,
Hmm.
full timers. So, I mean, now the guys and girls in Korea are staring down the barrel of a 64-hour work week. I think there's another way to look at this, and that is something's not working. Something's clearly not working. Um, so someone needs to take some drastic action when you've got $11 billion of losses recorded. 64-hour work week might be at least a solution, even if it's a band-aid. It's something,
Hmm.
like I said, I wouldn't have cut it like that. I would have brought the key stakeholders in, the leaders from each
Hmm.
department, and said, what do you reckon, guys? And maybe they did that. Maybe in unison they went, we need 64-hour work weeks. Maybe that was the solution. At least they're doing something. I just think they could have sharpened the knife a little better.
Well, let's take this from another angle. Here we are sitting and comparing it to what we're doing, but like in Australia. But are we too soft? Do we have, we've got lattes, we've got long lunch breaks. You go and watch anyone in the government do any work. I remember I was sitting at a cafe and I was waiting for a business meeting. Meanwhile, I'm doing some work because I run the show, so I'm motivated to do the work. And then I'm sitting watching about 8 people, obviously from a government department, sitting around for a coffee, talking about cats and the weekend and whatever else. And I couldn't help but thinking, like, someone is sitting there paying your wage for you to sit around and do nothing. And you take it personally as a business owner when you've got a lot of your own money and time and energy invested. I mean, I can be a little bit flexible as well. I sometimes I understand that. I think if the intent is not there, I want people's intent. I don't want their bodies for a certain amount of hours. I want people's drive and motivation. That's what I would much rather see. And I know that you and I have worked some bloody long hours in the military. So, we know what hard work is. But I think the average, perhaps Australian, doesn't. There's so many people out there that are complaining that they're not getting their, was an hour long lunch break, and their 7.6 hour workday is now a 7.7 workday, and now they're complaining about it. So where's the balance? Where's the middle ground?
Yeah, and I think the side hustle culture sort of crept into, which is good. I
Mm.
caught an Uber the other day, um, back to my house, and had a chat with our Uber driver, and he has a contract where he drops off Monster Energy drinks in his truck.
Mm.
Takes him about 5 hours to do the round early in the morning, and then when he finishes, he goes home and has lunch, and then jumps in Uber. This dude's pulling like 11, 12 hour days, um, and he liked it. He really enjoyed it. So it, I think there's a pretty big mix, and certainly within Australia, you've got people like this. Um,
Mm.
you just mentioned with the lunch breaks and the proclivity to just bum around, and then you got guys going for it, 12-hour days, 6 days a week.
Well, that's what's going to happen. You've got the haves and the have-nots. The haves sit back on their bum and just, pop a beer and enjoy the sunshine. But the have-nots, they're trying to come and take your lunch. I think if people sit back too easy and wait for too long, someone else is going to come that's more hungry than you is going to come and get it. You see it all the time in like sports where the person at the front, they're like, "Woo, I'm at the front," and they just like start bounding nice and calmly. And then there's someone who's second place that's desperate to beat you, to be the winner, and they are absolutely fanging it. And the guy like celebrates too early, and then boom, someone else comes in behind them.
Yep,
So,
marathon runs. God, there's so many of that.
uh, and why heaps, even like those track and fields or mountain bikes or absolutely anything you can think of, is that someone was more hungry than you. So maybe Samsung, maybe the directors, they're hungry, so they're saying let's get this done because, well, I don't think you would have that problem with Apple because they don't make it. They get it made in China, and now they're investigating rolling it out in India, and they're trying to diversify their manufacture because that's the other thing is like you push it down to the lowest level and you get that cost saving, but then there's now China's getting too expensive to manufacture in because the they started that railway line down through the middle of Guangzhou through right down the center of China, and so where before everyone would have to go to Guangzhou on the east on the seaport side, um, because that's where manufacturing was, because that's where the jobs were. And so all the people in regional China would move there and then send money back to their family. They would live on virtually nothing and just feed the family. Now, because you've got the railway line and you've got the seaport, you've got choice. So these people can now get wage competitiveness because each of these zones are trying to attract the worker to move there, but they would rather take a lower pay and live near the railway line because they're closer to family, and then they don't have to travel as far. They can, fly home for the weekend or something like that, and so this price competitiveness and now lifestyle choices kind of makes it harder for the companies to like keep the wage down. So now that's they've created a monster within their own organization, and this is trickle down economics. This is now where China is outsourcing to Africa to get a whole bunch of stuff made.
Yeah, that's right.
So
Man, I
will we
think it's
see an
like
improvement in that region?
Nvidia's play in all of this. Jensen Huang has pulled no punches on social media lately. I mean, he's been right podcasting, many different interviews. I've seen him across YouTube Shorts even now.
Yep.
He's been really vocal with his unrelenting efforts to dominate the industry, and I think that's put a punch on Samsung.
Attention is what matters. Most of the Samsung ads are copying something that Apple's done. Apple do their
To
bit
everyone,
to
mate, Apple's all right.
yeah, they sell a feeling, they sell an idea, they don't sell a product. Yeah. Well, it's been great. It's been fun. It's been real. And if you've been watching this, you can always jump onto the Relevate community. We have been discussing Samsung's 64-hour work week, which is pretty a bit of a mind-boggling announcement. Now there is a cap of 3 months that they are allowed to do this before they have to go back down to 40 hours. But it's just interesting to really unpack that country with their work ethics, their way of, or their labor laws, and that company, Samsung, and the way that they need, one, that they're having an issue, and two, that they need to turn around this giant ship. So, how do we interpret that as from our work ethic and our work perspective and our businesses? So anyway, interesting learnings there today. If you like that and if you'd like to join the Relevate community, just go to join.relevate.com.au. It's a place for business owners to connect and collaborate with each other. No fluff, no guff, no pitches, just connecting the dots. So thank you very much for watching. Thank you, Kane. It's been an excellent conversation.
Yeah, it's been great, man. Thanks for having me. Very interesting topic. I'm excited to see how this develops. I'm particularly excited to follow some of the decision makers in Samsung over the next 6 to 8 weeks.
Mm.
Maybe
So
we
we're
can
going
do
to
a
be doing
follow up.
these. Yeah, we're going to be doing these a little bit more regularly. So if you're watching and you'd like to us to discuss a particular topic, head on over to YouTube, give a like, a subscribe, and just write in the comments what you thought. Don't forget that if you're watching live, you can put live comments, and then we can engage with you in the chat as well. Otherwise, take care, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, dudes.